Hi, I'm Mia Paris, and I'm Principal Designer of Mia Paris Design. This is Moose, and welcome to my YouTube channel. A question I get asked all the time is, did I go to design school? And as a matter of fact, yes, I did 2 degrees. I did my first undergrad at the University of Toronto, and then I went abroad to London to study architecture. And then in my final year, I actually moved to New York City, where I studied at Parsons, the New School of Design, interior design and lighting program. And I absolutely fell in love. It's such a funny story because my father is a theme park architect. To him, I've always looked up to him as a mentor. And my mom always said to me, I think you should be an interior designer. And of course, resisting mom's great advice, I then embarked on this journey to New York City, absolutely fell in love with interiors, and came back to Toronto to study at Ryerson School of Interior Design, or RSID as it's called, and just had such a wonderful experience. And then I moved back to Toronto and studied for 4 more years and did a second undergrad at the Ryerson School of Interior Design, which was a wonderful experience, very applied knowledge, which I didn't really get from my first experience in undergrad. It gave me a better focus for my career and direction so that I could head into the world of design with a lot more applied knowledge. I then got my first offer for a TV show on HGTV in my final year of school at Ryerson, and not a lot of people know this, but I actually turned it down. I had asked my professor for some advice. I said, I got this great offer, I'd have to leave school, what do you think? And she was like, if you're asking me, you know the answer, you're this close, just finish your degree. If it's meant to be, it will be. So I turned it down and finished my degree. And as I was graduating, I got another offer for a pilot. So lo and behold, after I graduate, we film this pilot, and we don't hear anything for a few months, and I decide, okay, I'm getting a design job. And I applied to one firm, and I get the job. It was incredible. So I immediately started working, and a couple months in, our show got greenlit by HGTV. And it was just one of the most exciting and terrifying moments because I knew I'd have to walk into my boss's office and tell her the bad news because I honestly loved my design job. I was very lucky to have the experience where my boss really supported me and wanted me to do both. So I actually would bounce back and forth between filming and working in high-end residential design. And that allowed me the experience to have real-world applied design knowledge in jobs that I still continue to do today, as well as the television world, and have that experience. And that television experience then has continued to present day, where we now do some behind-the-scenes work, and we've done some really great ensemble casts for the network. I've just had the wonderful experience of meeting and working with all of these other designers, contractors, producers, showrunners, cameramen, sound guys, that I've really admired and heading into my career. So I feel very blessed to have had that experience. But I did let it go. So if something is meant for you, I do believe it comes back at the right time, because timing's a big thing. And then a couple of years into my TV and design experience, I landed my very first client, and I was just getting ready to leave my firm and start my own business and launch MPD, and moved to the Cayman Islands. So I would fly back and forth to film, and then I began working in the Cayman Islands as an interior designer, and it was such an incredible experience. I was there for almost 4 years and moved back to Toronto and relaunched MPD and continued on in my television career, and here we are today. My best advice for someone starting out in the design world would be to follow your passions. Make sure that you're working on something that you love and for someone that you love. I would advise them to get as much experience as possible, to keep an open mind, The design world is just so multifaceted, and there's so many avenues and ways that you could take it. We work with so many incredible trades and craftswomen who, have adapted and evolved to find their niche. And I think it's really important to keep an open mind about that so that you can find exactly what is the right fit for you, that's the most fulfilling to you as a business owner, as someone working in the design world. And for someone just starting, I would advise them to get out there and get as much experience and exposure as possible. If you do live in a small town, I would say make sure that you utilize those online communities that are available to you. I think there's so many great resources like our mentoring program and other online platforms that really give you a roadmap to success when it comes to your design career. So you don't necessarily have to live in a big city where there's lots of design events and locations to go sourcing in person and vendors to meet in person. I think you can work remotely these days, and it's really just tailored at someone who's self-motivated and driven and has a passion and a goal in mind, and that's really, I think, important when you're starting out your career in design. My favorite style as a designer is actually quite modern. I have evolved over the years. Are exposed to so many different styles and trends. I have then since realized the beauty in the simplicity. I think that evolves from my architectural background and just experiencing spaces. I say that, but I also love layers. I love textures, and I love a bohemian California that's really open and bright. Lots of wood tones, paneling, textures, woven materials. I'm crazy for woven stuff. And I would say I really define my style on something that's laid back, textured, lived in, curated, thoughtfully designed, space planned, proportionate. Those words just ooze delish when it comes to interior design to me. One piece of advice I would have for anyone in the design world currently growing their business and working in the design world would be to see the beauty in everything, to take a moment when you go traveling to intentionally visit places that you've never seen before. Perhaps it's historical or architectural. I love traveling and going to visit some of these meccas of architecture, whether it be, in Barcelona, some of the Spanish cities that I've been to, like Alicante, visiting Mies van der Rohe and Calatrava, and these spaces that really, stick with you internally. And then you go home and you dream about them, or you've studied them and you experience them in real life, and they're just nothing like what you could have imagined from a textbook, a YouTube video. And I think honoring where our historical design comes from and visiting these places just really reminds you that everything has a past and it comes from somewhere, right? So I think it's wonderful to explore the world and keep that open mind and look at things and question things like, what is that made of? How did they do that? I know when we traveled to Greece, I was just in awe of Santorini simply because of the engineering. I think that's just something that's so fun to imagine and to wonder about and ask questions, talk to the locals, think about the climate they're in, think about the building materials they have available to them, think of the costs of those things, and just explore that in your mind when you're traveling. Keep an open mind. And I think traveling is such a beautiful part of our career because you're able to explore the world with a new lens. And I think that's a gift.